Hello, hello. Welcome to NJ Thrives Small Business Webinars. Today is Tuesday, February 27th. You are attending one of our weekly webinars created to help New Jersey small business owners start, grow, and thrive. My name is Uzma Sheikh. I'm a consultant here at NJSBDC. And NJSBDC is New Jersey Small Business Development Center. We are a network, a statewide program powered by the SBA, which stands for Small Business Administration, and partners to help small businesses in New Jersey with three main things. Those things are no-cost small business consulting, training and events starting at $0, just like this one that you're attending, and exclusive small business resources. If you're able to hear me properly, please put a 1 in the chat if you can see me as well. If anytime the audio or video disconnects, please let me know in the chat and we'll do our best to make sure that you can get back on as soon as possible. Thank you so much for that. I am seeing all the responses come in. Appreciate that. Before moving on, you'll see the map on the right there. It is the state of New Jersey, of course, and wherever you see the small SBDC logos are where our regional centers are located. So anywhere that you see, such as Warren, Hudson, Middlesex, those are where our regional centers are. So if you ever want to make an appointment, go in and say hi, whether it's for events or for counseling, then just go to njsbdc.com, register for counseling, and you can speak with a consultant. All right, so the webinar topic that we are presenting today, it is part of a multi-session webinar series on how to register your business with $0 NJSBDC support. And this webinar series was created to provide startup assistance to New Jersey's aspiring entrepreneurs start, grow, and thrive. If you are new here, if you have not registered a business before, or if you have before but you'd like to start another one, let us know in the chat any fun things that you want to share with the audience, with our participants, the name, social media, you know, any website that you might have and you want to get the word out. This is, I think, one of the best places to network. All right, so a little promotion. We have NJSBC and SBA Small Business and Lender Celebration happening on Thursday, February 29th, which is 29th this Thursday, I believe. And that is from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And you can find out all the details if you RSVP on the Eventbrite page, or you scan the QR code. So it's a great celebration for our small business community annually. So feel free to check it out. Gone to. All right. Excuse me. Sorry for that. The agenda, what do we have on the agenda? We have a couple of headlines, then we have a presentation, and then the Q&A session. The headlines I will be sharing in the chat, so let me just go through them quickly. And all the links, I will be putting them in the chat right after I'm done sharing my screen. And this is the Eventbrite page for the annual celebration. So again, February 29th, happening from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Locations right here, Valley Regency. And this is our agenda on what is happening. So VIP networking check-in, networking reception, general admission check-in, award celebration, which includes the NJSBDC Success Awards, Lender Awards, keynote, and food refreshments throughout. And then after, networking, DJ, and raffles. So pretty cool, check it out. This is where you can get tickets from. Next, we have a press release from the SBA. SBA announces statutory increases for Surety Bond Guarantee Program. Change will give small businesses access to projects up to $9 million and federal contracts up to $14 million. This was published just yesterday. And let's see. So they are increasing for the first time since 2013. Expected to increase revenue opportunities through contracting for small businesses, supporting job creation and economic growth. And this goes in effect March 18th. Okay, so if you'd like to read further, reach out for any questions, there's contact information and links provided. Third, we have NJEDA press release. NJEDA is a great resource to keep in check with New Jersey Economic Development Authority. NJEDA to create grant program to help small business owners purchase commercial properties. Published on February 20th, 7 days from today. A new pilot program expands Main Street Recovery Suite to offer grants up to $50,000 to reimburse closing costs after purchase of a commercial business property. Approved the creation of a pilot program, and this is part of the Main Street Acquisition Support Grant, excuse me. Let's see. The closing must have taken place after the application was open to the public, and the grant application date must be no later than 1 year from date of closing. Pretty cool information. If this is relevant to you, I highly recommend that you check it out. If not, then you may pass it on to someone who could use this. And finally, from business.nj.gov, official site of the state of New Jersey, update loan guarantees for investors in innovation-focused companies. Existing investors supporting early-stage innovation-focused companies in New Jersey can receive guarantees on their loans from the New Jersey Entrepreneur Support Program. The program provides guarantees at 80% of the loan amount, totaling a maximum of $500,000 to a company on investor loans advanced for working capital to businesses. Okay, so if you would like to review the program website at www.njeda.com, NJESB. That concludes my headlines. Again, I will share them in the chat. Some housekeeping rules to keep in mind for everyone. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box that is right next to the chat box. And if you'd like to receive the slides from our speaker, then please complete a survey. I will put the link, and you can complete that brief Google form survey and get the link on the submission page. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so if you have to leave midway or you'd like to rewatch it, then it will be available on our YouTube channel or our website in 1 to 2 business days. All right, enough from me. We have Vanessa Schwartz, one of our NJSBDC Start-Up Consultant, Zero to Hero Navigating Business Registration with NJSBDC. Welcome, Vanessa. Thank you again. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Uzma, for all that information. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm going to share my screen so we can get started. Okay, let's see what happened here. One moment here. So we just navigate through. All right, here we go. And slideshow. All right. So once again, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you again, Uzma, for all that wonderful information and for the introduction. My name is Vanessa Schwartz, and I'm here to talk to you about starting your business and more specifically, creating a limited liability company. So whether you are someone who wants to take their hobby to the next level or a professional in your own space and you believe it is time to venture into entrepreneurship, or maybe you're just interested in pursuing a side hustle. Either way, it's very important that you educate yourself on your choices, on the opportunities that are available to you as small businesses in New Jersey, and educate yourself on the costs, legal requirements, tax obligations. These are free services at the NJSBDC. We offer no-cost counseling to you, and we hope you will enjoy and take advantage of our service. Okay, so first thing we're going to talk about. So before we get into the specifics of the LLC, we're going to talk a little bit about business structures. Then we're going to get into more of the formation and registration process of the different business structures, with primarily focusing on the limited liability company. We'll talk a little bit about New Jersey state regulations for operating in New Jersey, taxes, address funding and cash management as a small business owner, and what you'll need to think about prior to starting your business. Point out what additional needs you may have as a small business starting out and what opportunities there are for you out there in terms of growth. And, these are all important topics because business doesn't happen in a vacuum. So even though you may just be forming an LLC, it's important to know where an LLC stands in terms of the continuum of the different types of structures that are out there and how it differs from other choices you may have. So that's why it's good that you're educating yourself, you're asking questions, and when you do go ahead and say form your LLC, you are fully aware of what you're doing. Okay, perfect. Now, having said that, the first thing we're going to start out with is to talk a little bit about what's known as the sole proprietorship. The sole proprietorship is the least cumbersome opportunity for you to register with New Jersey and transact business. It is no more than filing a trade name with the county clerk's office. It is one-time inexpensive fee, maybe $50, $60 to file for a trade name. It is done at the county level through paperwork provided to you by your county clerk's office. And in doing so, you may transact business using your Social Security number as your tax ID. You may, if you wish, get a employer identification number from the state, excuse me, from the IRS, not the state, from the IRS, but you don't have to. It is perfectly acceptable to use your personal Social Security number as a tax ID for the business. And it's perfectly acceptable to transact business using your personal bank accounts. So not a lot of rules. You are the business is you. But what it does is it does give you a recognizable trade name under which you are permitted to transact business in the state. And it does alert New Jersey and lets them know that you are going to be responsible for paying any income taxes or other taxes that may be applicable to what you're doing. The tax filing process is very simple. Very simple. You are permitted to use a Schedule C attachment. That's an IRS tax filing that just attaches to the back of your personal income tax return. It will reflect the sales of your business, the expenses of your business, and ultimately your net income will be passed through to your personal income tax. And at that point, you'll pay taxes on the net income of the business. The downside is that even though you have the simplicity of it all, you have no liability protection. Your business is really nothing more than an extension of yourself. And, there are certain businesses that or hobbies that may lend itself to that. It's not a very big deal. There's not a lot of liability issues. Maybe it's a side hustle. Maybe it's just something simple that you're doing that you're testing out and you don't necessarily want to go ahead and get more structured. You don't want to bother with a separate business account right now. It allows for simplicity. However, you have opened yourself now to potential liability issues. If, say, God forbid, something were to happen in due course of transacting business under your trade name, and you were to be sued or held accountable financially, you are risking your personal assets. So that's one of the issues that we definitely need to consider when we're starting a business. The next structure, and actually now we're getting into true professional, well, I don't want to use the word professional, but we're kind of getting into now the next level up in terms of the type of business you may want to form is now considered business entities. These business entities are separate from you personally. And we would say the next level up is the limited liability company. The difference here is that instead of maybe $50, $60 paid to the county clerk's office, you're now paying $128 to form directly with the state, and you have a $75 per year dues that are required of you to keep your LLC in good standing. It's a process that is done directly from the njportal.com online. You file your articles of formation, you pay $128, and basically at the year anniversary of your formation, you'll be prompted for $75 to, you can go right online. It's called filing an annual report. There's nothing really fancy about it. It sounds scarier than it is. Filing an annual report means logging into the portal, indicating your company identification number, your start date, and basically being prompted to pay your $75. The LLC does require you to have a separate tax ID called the EIN. The EIN is from the IRS. This tax ID number is assigned to the LLC. It must match in terms of the legal name of the LLC. It must match on the paperwork. And, one thing I wanted to also say is that even though in the sole prop, if you recall, we don't have to have a EIN if we choose not to. You'll see more and more sole props choosing to get EINs because it does help protect your identity. Instead of using your Social Security every time you want to fill out a W-9 or you're doing something, you apply for the EIN and it gives you a little more protection. Now, one thing I want to make clear is that the process of getting an EIN is absolutely free, does not cost anything. If you find yourself on a website thinking that you are at the IRS website and then find yourself prompted at the end of the application process to pay $300, close the tab, you're in the wrong place. And I've seen it, I've been there. It does not cost anything to get a tax ID. That is free, and it is done directly from the IRS website, and it can be done online. Now, the LLC does require you to have a separate business banking account. Now we're talking about completely separating your personal with your business. This is what helps protect you. This is what gives you the limited liability. You are taking yourself out of the equation and you are now separating yourself from your business. And the other nice thing about the LLC is that it's very flexible. Not a lot of rules around how you're set up, in that you can choose how you wish to be taxed. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you're the owner of the LLC, you can actually choose to be paid, taxed as if you were a sole proprietorship. So remember, the sole proprietorship has that Schedule C, simple tax filing attachment, pass through. You are allowed, provided that you're just one owner. It's called being a single member or single payer LLC owner. You are allowed to choose the Schedule C tax filing, which is a great, simple thing to do. If you are more than one person, you'll default most likely to the Form 1065. The 1065 is the partnership tax filing paperwork that's used. Doesn't mean you're a partnership. Partnership has its own legal definition of what entails in a partnership. It just means that as a multi-member, as opposed to a single member, member does mean owner in LLC terminology, you can be taxed as if you're a partnership. So that's the Form 1065. Whether you're a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC, either way, you can also choose to be taxed as a corporation at some point in your business lifetime. And that's a whole other separate discussion. We may get into it a little bit today, but it's something you would really want to discuss with your accountant. Okay, so the next level up is the corporation. It is the most, I would say, definitely provides you the strongest liability protection. It allows for more in terms of the structure, and gives you the opportunity to issue shares. So, for example, if you are somebody who is looking maybe to raise money over time and would like to be able to issue equity, it could issue stock as a way to get equity investors in your business. You may decide that a corporation is something you might want to do, even if you're just a small business. It does require the bylaws. You have to create bylaws. You have to create a board of directors. Okay, you have to hold shareholder meetings. There are regulatory requirements in incorporating your business. And sometimes it just doesn't even seem that it makes much sense to do that if you're just one person. Like, why would I hold a shareholder meeting by myself? Well, people do, because there are reasons why a small business may decide that incorporating is in their best interest. Mostly it has to do with the liability protection. And there are certain industries, maybe home building or general contractor, or you may see those in the trucking business who drive a rig for their livelihood, and they incorporate themselves. There are some businesses where the vendors in which they do business with would prefer or require that their company be set up as a corporation. So, that's a discussion we can have. You can make an appointment. We can go through the pros and cons, but it's just something we want to alert you that that's an option as well. Either a structure that I have discussed so far, whether it be the sole proprietorship, the LLC, and the corporation, forming these entities are in and of itself is not sufficient to operate and transact business in New Jersey. Once you've decided which type of business you would like to form, and you go ahead and take care of that, and if necessary, if you're an LLC, or if you're pursuing the corporation, once you've gotten your tax ID number, all aspects of these different types of businesses are that they are all required to then register with the Department of Revenue and Enterprise Services for tax purposes. So you're not done until you take that last step. You do need to register. It doesn't cost anything to register. It's right online. It allows the state to know that you're legally formed, you're ready to go. You disclose your ownership percentages, you disclose who you are, you disclose who the owners of the businesses are. And depending on what industry you're in, you check off the boxes that will say that you understand that there are certain criteria that you may have to fulfill. For example, if you're hiring employees, you acknowledge to the state that you'll be starting payrolls, or you may have to acknowledge to the state that you're selling goods or services that require collection of sales tax. So this registration is the last piece of it, and without doing it, you're not permitted to operate, and many people leave that out. So that's something we want to make sure that you get done. You make an appointment. We'll sit with you. We'll make sure it's all done. And you know what? One thing I just want to mention is that this is something that we're here for. So you don't have to be an expert after attending this session and feel like you have to know everything about the ins and outs. You're hearing it for the first time. You're digesting it. You understand that there's some differences. You may or not remember anything specific about what I'm saying, but you'll know, make an appointment, speak to a counselor, and we'll go over it. And if you do choose to go ahead with the LLC, we will walk you through every step of the process with you so that it's done start to finish. Okay, so next step. This is just a little bit about the C Corp versus the S Corp. If you do decide to incorporate, you, as a small business, have the option to file to be an S Corp. Now, corporations are subject to corporate tax rate. That is unfortunate if you're a small business, because it's very burdensome to have to pay taxes twice. And that's why sometimes you hear it referred to as the double taxation. Once you get to your net income line for your company, you'll be, the IRS assigns a corporate tax rate. The company pays its taxes, and then whatever's left is your profit as the shareholder. And then you personally will again need to pay taxes on the profits. So you are in a sense being taxed twice. So the IRS allows for, when the government had years ago decided that there is an opportunity for you to, for tax purposes, file for S Corp status. There are certain requirements from a corporation in order to be eligible for S Corp status. Two big ones are that you, I believe you cannot have more than 100 shares, and the shares must be common stock. They can't be any preferred or get into more complicated ownership structure. Common stock, 100 shareholders or less. Those are some of the requirements that are required to file for S Corp status. By doing that, when you go to file your taxes for your company, you are no longer being subject to that double taxation. Once you get to your net income, the profits will be shared accordingly, distributed accordingly to the owners, and then it'll pass right back into your personal tax returns. And the other piece of this, which doesn't get, can be confusing. So we always want to try to explain it as best as possible. On top of all of that, you may be an LLC that at some point, remember we had said LLCs can choose how they wish to be taxed. At a certain income threshold, you are permitted to change your tax filing selection, and you are allowed to be taxed as if you were an S Corp. Now, you're not becoming an S Corp, you're an LLC, but you're changing your tax status. Why would somebody do that? That's something that would be discussed maybe with your accountant, but primarily the reason is there is a certain time in your business where, as owners of your business, your self-employment taxes have become burdensome to the point where you are better off and it's more tax advantageous to become an S Corp. When you're being taxed as an S Corp, you are now, as owners of the LLC, permitted to put yourselves on payroll. That changes the whole income statement and tax dynamic. By putting yourself on payroll now, you are both the employee and the employer. And with payroll expenses being deductible, and with now as an employee of your company receiving a W-2 and having withholdings, you are lowering your profit line. And by doing that, your self-employment taxes are less. So just know that that's an option. It's something that can be discussed. Everybody's different. What that threshold is different depending on who you are and your tax bracket, if you're filing jointly with the spouse or partner. So that is probably something ultimately you would decide with an accountant. But if you have questions about procedure and what this all means, it's something we can discuss in a consultation. So now we're going to focus primarily on the limited liability company, the LLC. So if you make an appointment with us, obviously we counsel on all sorts of things, and we can counsel you on all the other structures as well. But one thing we will do when it comes to the LLC is we'll set it up with you. You don't have to pay a third party. You can get it done, get it right the first time. You don't have to go and try to guess and do it yourself and save yourself money and then realize you did it wrong and then cost you time and then money down the road. So we say, do not pay a third party $300, $400, $500, $600, $700 to do what really you should be able to do yourself, because the portal is meant for you, the business owner. It's accessible to you. It's not something that is expected that you would necessarily need to hire someone to do it for you. Now, having said that, if you have no idea how to answer certain questions, or it's foreign to you, or you're uncomfortable, we totally get that. So we'll do it with you. We will sit with you. We'll do it over the phone. We will walk you through the whole formation, the registration, and it's no cost to you. We'll also help you get your tax ID, make sure you have all your codes correctly put in. If you have any questions along the way, we also get a chance to educate you. Make sure you know the terminology. Make sure you're familiar with the portal. You'll always want to go back to the portal. You have to pull a document or you have a question about something. All the resources are available to you for your business at the portal, as well as through the IRS. Any kind of tax questions, you can Google things and you can look things up and you can read, take with a grain of salt. People might be wrong, it could be old. Always try to go to the source. Try to go to the .gov or the .com. Well, NJ portal for some reason is .com, but it really does take you to, ultimately it'll get you into the nj.gov. So that's a little odd, but it's an easy, I like using that link because I don't have to play with it. It always gets me where I want to go. It's easy for me to remember. So we make sure you understand your obligations, what your legal requirements are. We remind you of and say, make sure you have the links so that when the time comes that you have to pay your annual dues and you're being told to file an annual report, you'll know where to go. And then if you ever have any questions, you can just reach out to your counselor. Very important that you keep your documents organized. Know where your certificate of formation is. Know where your letter from the IRS is. Those are, and your registration document. These are all important documents. Basically, I always say it's like looking at your birth certificate, your social security card, and I don't know, the deed to your home or it's paperwork you want to have handy. And it keeps you organized. And, once you get started, this is just the beginning. There's going to be a whole slew of maybe for some of you, a little bit of a learning curve on how to manage your books. What's the best way to manage your books? These are the types of things in terms of management and business planning and preparation that counselors at the NJSBDC are happy to assist you with. Okay. So this is a whole slide that goes through my rant and rave about don't forget the third part of the process. Now, the one thing I do want to say about these third parties is for whatever reason, LegalZoom, Zen Business, even your accountant who's happy to charge you several $100s to form your business. For some reason, they don't seem to inform you. I've yet to see a third party alert the client that, hey, you have one more step to register the business. It doesn't take long. It's not very hard to do, but you are not allowed to operate and transact business unless you are registered. And those third parties who you're paying to form the business are not doing it for you. So if you did say use somebody recently, it's okay. You didn't know it was something you needed and you got it done. Contact us, find out, make sure you are registered. If you don't know if you're registered, we'll look it up and see if you are, and if you're not, we'll get you registered. Now, there is a new requirement called the Beneficial Ownership Information Report. Once you're completely done with New Jersey and you're registered and we say goodbye, we always tell you now, like, be on the lookout, but you will make sure you have the link. There's the link there, but we send it to you when we're done. That you have 90 days to file one more report. And by filing a report, it's basically going online and filling out just a quick little survey that the federal government now is mandating that all LLCs basically report who they are, who owns them, what the profit share is, and how to reach you in case they have to contact you. This is a result of probably years of with the LLCs being so kind of flexible and free and more state regulated per se, there's been a lot of opportunity for money laundering and crime and financial crimes, shell companies. You probably hear that all in the news now. This new little filing allows the federal government to kind of get in the know and be watching, I guess we should say. So what do you need to have? So when you form your LLC, you'll need to have a unique business name. There's the link. You can search for business availability. It is not sufficient for you to just Google to see if there's any other business in New Jersey that has your name. That's not the way it's done. There is an official entity, government state entity search where you can see if your name is available. It has to be unique in New Jersey. Just so you know, any link you see on these slides, you'll get a copy of the slides once you fill out our little end of webinar survey. And so you'll be able to link right in and take a look, and you can do your own research. The next thing you'll need is that EIN from the IRS, and it's free. Remember, free, free, free. Do not pay for your EIN. If you form and register your business with us, well, that'll be part of the thing that we do with you. There'll be a couple of times you'll be asked for codes to identify what type of business you're in. You could have multiple codes assigned to you, but for the purposes of the formation and registration, they just want to know the one that most accurately reflects the type of business you're doing. It's for statistical purposes. New Jersey has their own set of industry codes that you can kind of look up and see what you're doing. And then the NAICS is a national classification system that allows you to identify which code most accurately reflects the work that you're doing. You will need a registered agent. So you can be your own registered agent. New Jersey allows, especially as a small business owner, why pay someone when you can just do it yourself? It's basically allowing yourself to be the person of record, the person to contact if the state has any mail to send or information to provide or needs to reach you for whatever reason. It is mandatory that there is a name, an address, phone number, and that they're not going to show up and just find a little dirt road and a PO box. So you could be your own registered agent. If you don't want your name and home address to be on record, to be the place to go if someone needs to reach you for your business, you can hire somebody. There's registered agents in New Jersey. There's a fee. Cost depends on kind of who you choose. There's one I've seen as little as $49 a year. They'll be your registered agent. They'll make sure they digitize or get you any pertinent mail that comes from the state. But they will also be that brick and mortar location for your business and the agent of record. Now, if you're more than one person, you need an operating agreement. An operating agreement spells out everything from how much each of the members contribute, what the profit share will be, what the daily role might be, any kind of agreement informing whether maybe some members are lending money into the business in addition to investing money into the business. It can get complicated, especially if there's more than the more people are owning this business. And one of the most important pieces of your operating agreement is what you'll do if the business were to close. How would the assets be distributed? What would happen to the bank account? What would we do? Would we sell off equipment? Would we just divide everything in half? How would we pay out our debts? I mean, these are the types of things that have to be agreed upon and signed on. You don't have to have a lawyer do it with you, but I would say think about how complicated it is, who you're doing business with, and can't hurt to make sure that you're doing it correctly and that you're comfortable with the terms of the agreement. Maybe there are times where perhaps talking to an attorney might be in your best interest for something like this. It costs $125 plus $350 processing fee to file for the articles of formation. That's the only charge in the whole process. We don't charge for our time. There's no charge for the EIN. There's no charge to do the last piece, which is that registration. But in order to get a certificate of formation, that is the state filing fee in New Jersey, $125. You'll have to make sure you know the names and addresses and social security numbers of all the owners and what percent you're going to provide each of the owners. As you get to the last piece, when we're on the registration site, that's where you get to choose how you wish to be taxed. Either you're a one person and you're just going to do the old Schedule C, single member filing. If you're more than one person, it'll be the 1065. And in either scenario, you do have the option at some point to choose to be taxed as an S corp. So that's another way to go if it's appropriate for you. You have to know whether your sale of your goods and or your services are subject to state sales tax. And also whether you're eligible to make exempt purchases. What does that mean? If you're selling consumer products that are subject to sales tax, you as the business owner and the retailer will need to collect the sales tax, hold it, and remit it back to the state at the end of the quarter. That'll be your obligation. Now, sometimes it gets a little confusing of what's taxable and what isn't. So the state does have a site, a booklet. The link is actually later on in this presentation where you can go and see if what you're doing or what you're selling is subject to sales tax. If it is, you'll check the box, yes, in the registration that you will be collecting sales tax. And you will potentially have the option to make exempt purchases. So if you're selling a product, you're not the end user, and the law allows for you to show an exempt certificate to whomever you are purchasing, either the raw materials, the cost of goods sold, or the wholesale product, and you won't pay sales tax in New Jersey for those items because you are in fact taking this on as your inventory, at which time you'll be able to sell, and then you'll be the one charging the sales tax. So these are all the types of things that we go over. We make sure you understand, and we make sure you understand what forms you need to file. The state actually makes it pretty easy. It's not that difficult. It can all be done online. And when you're registering, if this does apply to you, you are collecting the tax. You will be issued a sales certificate of authority, and that's what gives you the authority to collect sales tax. And some businesses require additional registrations, certifications, insurance, workers' comp. We'll talk about this when we go through the process. When you're done with the just basic state filing and registration, depending on if you're a general contractor or a handyman, you will need a general contractor registration. If you're a home health aide, you'll need a license for that. If you're working in if you're doing any sort of food service, for example, you'll need to probably have some form of a food safety, or might need an inspection from the Department of Health, or may need a CDL if you're driving a van for your business. So these are all the additional things that we will talk with you about, show you the links, where the resources are, and whether you do or do not need any additional certifications or registrations. You'll need to identify a bank in which to open your business bank account. Now that you are completely separate from your business, you can no longer transact with and deposit money from your business into your personal account. So go look around. There's a lot of banks that offer no fees. You do not want to pay fees as a small business. Check maybe where you personally bank to see if they have some options for you for the business side of it. But could do a little homework. We can give you some thoughts on where it might work for you. We work with a lot of banks that are always looking for your business. And the most important thing is, kind of where you're comfortable, that you're okay with any criteria. Some of them don't require any kind of minimum amount. So again, it might take a little bit of research there. These are all the links that you can dive into once we get you this presentation. It has a place to go for the licenses and registrations, the sales tax booklet, what is taxable, what isn't. Income tax, we didn't really talk much about that, but as business owners, you are now self-employed individuals, and you will need to pay your income taxes yourselves. That's the self-employment tax. So that is something that is done, I believe, both on the federal level through the IRS, as well as on the state level through the Division of Taxation. The threshold is not very high. If you owe a certain amount of tax per quarter, income tax that is, then the government officials do not wish to wait till April 15th to get their money. And also as business owners, if you don't pay income taxes through the course of the year, and then you're filing come April 15th, and you realize you owe thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars in income taxes, which you've spent, that could be a problem. So that's why, to protect yourself, the government has very strict rules in place that at a certain amount, you need to pay what's known as estimated income taxes, so that you're constantly paying in. And then just like anything else, at the end of the year, if you've overpaid, you'll get a refund. If you've underpaid, you'll have a tax bill, but at least it'll be reasonable. If you have questions about hiring employees or independent contractors, we can talk about that. There's the payroll, which is that W-2, W-4 setup, versus the independent contractor, which is that W-9, 1099 setup, where if you want to hire an independent contractor, they fill out the W-9. You're not withholding any taxes from them, but at the end of the year, you do have to issue a 1099 so that they can go ahead and they can file their own income taxes. And we could talk a little bit about insurance and workers' comp if you have questions about that as you start your business. There are so many pieces to business planning and strategic management and starting up, and so much of it does have to do with money. We understand that, so business planning is a big piece of the counseling that we do, whether it be talking about your financing needs, what type of startup money do you need, really try to look at your plan and help you, as you're going ahead and if you decided you're going to form that LLC, this is what I want to do. How much money do you really need to get the business going? Believe it or not, sometimes it's a lot less than you think. And we always try to brainstorm to see exactly what it is that you need right now. Because remember, over time, as you grow, you can always, continue to invest in the business. There's a certain startup amount you need, and then there's a certain amount of money that you're going to need to keep the operations going. And that's the most important thing to think about initially. Personal budget considerations, there'll have to be some skin in the game. You'll have your own investment into your business, but you may need additional sources of capital and financing, which we do. We help businesses with their loan preparation, introduce you to lenders, deal a lot with SBA loans, that's the Small Business Administration, and we'll try to assist you with borrowing if that's something you're interested in doing. And then very important, we really feel that it is important that you educate yourselves and you use the business mentors here to help you understand financial literacy. We understand that you're not necessarily all, business majors. You're entrepreneurs. You have a skill. You have an expertise. You want to make, do your own thing. Doesn't mean that you've taken 10 classes in accounting. So, and you don't have to. But it does help, I think, to have a little bit of an understanding of the differences between an income statement and a balance sheet and a cash flow. And if you ask, well, why? Because at the end of the day, you really have to know that you are taking in more than you're spending, because otherwise, what's the point? So the business side of it is very important. And we have webinars and we have some classes and we have a whole series of educational tools to help businesses so that they're understanding of their finances. And that includes, we've QuickBook classes. We've had QuickBook classes in the past. So whether you're using just a notebook, an Excel spreadsheet, understand your sales, understand your expenses, and then understand your net income. And that'll be important. Okay, and then if and when we feel that you are asking questions that are beyond our comfort level, we don't offer private accounting counsel per se. We're not lawyers. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an insurance agent. But we can answer basic questions about anything and all things related to business. But there will be times where you may have to seek the counsel of an accountant. You may need to talk to a lawyer. And always good to talk to an insurance agent. They may be trying to sell you stuff, but let them tell you, let them educate you, let them put their sales pitch out, compare it with somebody else and make an informed decision. Same thing with the lenders. We deal with so many lenders. Like I said, most of them are SBA lenders, and they provide loan products that are through the SBA. But they're so kind. They are happy to help educate. They really do take the time to sit and explain, and we work well with them. We do our part on our end to prepare you for that conversation, and then they take over and they explain the more technical side of things. So they, many lenders are very happy to help if they can. And then in terms of other types of counseling, if you're just somebody that says, hey, I'd really like to talk to somebody about my social media plan or how to market, we have consultants that are more focused on that. That's not my area of expertise. That makes me very nervous. I don't know much about digital marketing, and it frankly gives me hives, but there are people who love it, and we have those people on staff. So we're here to be business mentors and assist in any way possible. And other areas of advice we provide and service we provide is helping you get your New Jersey state certifications. If you want to be a woman-owned, a minority-owned, veteran, disabled, an LGBTQ plus owned business, we can help you get those state certifications. They're very helpful when it comes to procurement and seeking government contracts. That's another big area of specialty that we focus on for our small business clients. We work with the NJEDA to, and if you don't know what that is, it's just a tremendous resource for New Jersey businesses to help with grants and loans and programs and financial assistance throughout the state at different times. So we can help look to see if anything might apply to you and help you with applications. And all our webinars are accessible through our website. So, and you can replay them. So you could see what we did in the past or what's coming up. So with that, I'm going to move to this next slide. There are 2 QR codes here. The first one is if you are not in business, if you have not formed your business and you are interested in talking to one of us about doing the formation, registration, the startup conversation, I would recommend you use the top QR code because it'll take you directly to those kinds of people. And then if you are already in business and, you know, really want some counseling on all of the above, that's, you know, beyond maybe that initial startup, the second QR code will take you to a counselor more quickly, to somebody who would be able to help you with along those lines. So with that, we're going to open it up to some Q&A and hopefully answer any questions you may have. Just going to wait for Uzma to come back. Well, she's probably getting on. She's going to assist with our questions. I can go
I'm here.
ahead.
I'm
Oh, here she
sorry. I'm
is.
here.
No, you're totally good. You're totally good. We just wrapped up. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, we can take some time to answer some questions if you're good.
Yep. Okay, so we are on time. It's 12:58, and we can always take questions, of course. Just before we get into them, just a couple of reminders that this webinar is being recorded. It will be available on our YouTube channel as well as our website, that NJSBDC.com, of course. And if you would like to receive the slides that Vanessa just presented on, then you can quickly do our Google Form survey and you will receive the slides in a link. All right, so moving on to the Q&A, we'll go through the questions in the order that we received them. First question, what is the fastest way to form a business? Sole proprietorship, I imagine.
What's the fastest way to
Form a business?
The fastest way? Did you say sole proprietorship too?
They said a sole proprietorship. That's their guess.
Oh, the fastest way to do a sole proprietorship. So you go to your county and where you live. You go to the municipal, like say for example Union County. You go to the Union County website, and you go to believe it's like you'll find wherever the business or the county clerk's office, and usually there is a link to a document that's called apply for a trade name. I think they'll call it a trade name or a DBA, but I think mostly New Jersey they're going to call it a trade name. And what you'll do is you'll print that out, you'll fill it out. At least the Union County one is required to be notarized. Then you will write the check. You can either drop it off at the county clerk's office or you can mail it. They'll send you back the stamped approval that your trade name is approved. And then at that point, you go online to NJReg, the NJ registration, and fill that out, and you're done. And then you're good to go. So it actually takes longer to do the sole proprietor because you have to deal with the county clerk's office. The LLC is done all online in one sitting. So you get your certificate of formation and then you go right ahead into the registration. There's no dealing with mailing or going to the county clerk or anything like that. It is quicker.
Got it. Next question. Sorry for confusion for payroll if it is S Corp only, but if I file the Schedule C having an LLC, can I still have payroll done for owner and employee, or it cannot be done for owner?
The only way for an owner to be on payroll is to be taxed as a corporation. But you can have employees, you can have a payroll as an LLC for other people. You have your EIN, you have your tax ID, you start a payroll, no problem. If you want to put yourself on a payroll, then you'll have to change. You cannot use the Schedule C tax filing.
Got it. Thank you. Next question is from Brianne, who says, I have an LLC. I also have an EIN, certificate of formation, and certification number. I've done everything I thought I had to do and have been technically a business for 2 years, and I have paid the yearly taxes, etc. However, when I try to get a certification of WMBO, it keeps saying that I am not a business. I never did the trade name with my county. I only did it with the state.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not, yeah, I've seen that, and I'll tell you what's from experience now. Now, first of all, the first thing I'm going to say is make an appointment, because we'll peel that onion very quickly, and we'll, don't pull your hair out of your head. I've helped countless people with that problem. I will tell you that the biggest pitfall that I've seen when that happens. Now, I'm sorry, now, Uzma, this person did say that they do believe that they registered. They did that third step, the registration, instead of certificate number.
Yes.
Did they ever
Certificate of
register?
formation and number. Yep.
Well, the certificate of formation is the certificate of formation.
And the
The
certification number.
well, the certification, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Again, terminology is that when you register, there's a sequence number that proves that you registered, or you would see a certificate. It's called the business registration certificate. That is completely separate. So either you never registered with the Division of Tax Revenue and Enterprise Services, or I have seen people who the name on the certificate of formation does not match the business name on the registration. And that's where the disconnect is. Sometimes there's some mistakes that whatever had been made at some point where the registration was done under the trade name, that if you had a DBA, not the legal business name on the certificate of formation. So that happens. We will figure it out with you. You'll pull your hair out trying to figure that out, or try to get somebody on the phone. We kind of have a couple of tricks where I can kind of like try and get to the bottom by looking up different things and asking you about what you've done to get that corrected, so you can go ahead and become certified as registered as one of the certifications,
Yeah.
using the terminology, to become a minority woman or whatever it was you were going to pick.
Yep. So short answer, Brianne, for you is that you should request counseling at njsbdc.com/startup, and
Yeah.
Vanessa and her team will help you. Okay, next question from Anonymous. It's about the registration. You said it's 90 days, but I was looking at on FinCEN, it's at 30 days from date business is registered. Does New Jersey send any form saying you need to file the additional report?
Oh, that's interesting. You may have something more update than me. I thought they were going to give 90 days for a new business. If you're seeing 30, it could be. But yes, my understanding is, well, first of all, if we do it with you, we send you the link and all that. But also my understanding is that once you are done with all your Jersey piece, one of the notifications you'll get in the mail is instructions and timing to file the BOIR. And thank you for bringing that to my attention. I feel like I saw 90 days somewhere, but I could be wrong. One thing I did read is that if you had an LLC prior to January 1st, you have until December 31st of this year to get it done. So if you already had been an LLC, they're giving all former LLCs the full 2024 year to go on and do this. But as for new ones, I'm going to look that up and make sure that so I'm correct. But yeah, if you have any other further questions about it, you can certainly make an appointment.
Okay. Next question is, does an LLC have to have a business banking account?
Yes. Short answer.
Yep.
Yes.
Elizabeth asks, what happened if there is not a code for my company on the NICS? What if a NICS code doesn't exist for what they're trying to do for their company?
So I will say that part of the process is always the hardest. There's always some problem. Those codes are so dated. Some of them, there's things that people are doing today and that you can't find anything. We'll work with you. We'll figure it out. We'll find something. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't have to be perfect. per se for the registration part. It does become a little bit more important when we're doing certifications for women, minority, veteran businesses, because by putting codes in that identify your work, it could help with government contracting. The registration, it's more for statistical purposes, I think, to keep track of what kind of businesses are starting. We'll find something. On the New Jersey Business Code, there is the opportunity that we use all the time, because it's just is what it is. There's miscellaneous services, miscellaneous consumer goods on the retail end of it, miscellaneous, and sometimes we just pick that because they are quite dated in terms of the types of things that are already in there. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. We can help you. Would we be able to solve that problem? I wouldn't worry too much.
Got it. Next question is from, okay, we have 23 open questions. I'm just trying to make sure that we go through them. All right, who is considered a registered agent?
You have to look it up. Well, okay, let me back up. You can be your own registered agent. So, all right, absent yourself or a family member that you would designate, that's a home, that's like someone that you know personally. Let's say you got to go out now and hire somebody. And it has to be in New Jersey, right? Obviously, if you say you're going to use your parents because they have the house and you're in an apartment, that's fine. It has to be New Jersey. Absent that, if you have to go hire, you can look up New Jersey registered agents and they'll come up. You can see all the different places that offer those services. Sometimes you might find that there are, I know sometimes accountant offices will serve, for a fee. They'll be your registered agent. But it has to be somebody that agrees to it. Someone, it can't just be like, oh, I think I'm going to use my accountant, and they don't. No, I mean, because they have to be approved registered agent locations, and we can look it up right online. You can find there's a whole number of choices you can use.
All right, next question. The company that would be, okay, so someone helped answer that. Cool.
Was I on the right track?
They said the company that would be hired to file the company's annual report is the registered agent.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there and say that, and this is so complicated and it doesn't even need to be, but they don't tell you this. You have to have a registered agent. You do not have to have the registered agent file your annual report. Okay. In fact, I'd say don't. Filing an annual report is going to njportal.com, putting your entity ID number in, plugging in your credit card, hitting submit, and moving on. That's $75. A registered agent is going to try to sell you a service that they're going to file the big annual report and they're going to charge you $250 or whatever it may be. If you're somebody who just doesn't want to be bothered with it, I get it, and you just don't want to know anything about it, they take care of everything. Okay, maybe, and I can see that maybe on a more corporate level, because there's other filings and other things that have to be done, and it can get, the bigger you are, it can get more cumbersome. If you are a small LLC, and all you have to do is log on each year to to pay $75 in dues, do it yourself. But the registered agent, there are registered agents for as little as $49 a year that are just serve that purpose. They are that address. They'll digitize your mail from the state, and they will be the legal registered agent on file for you. You don't need additional bells and whistles when you are an LLC, especially a single member LLC. That's just my opinion. We can talk more about it. But yes, you're right. You can have that registered agent file that annual report, but they're going to charge.
Got it. Next question is from Ellen, who asks, if you are a New York State business, how can you register within New Jersey?
It's called filing a foreign in New Jersey. So you go to the portal and it says, what kind of business would you like to form? And all you have to do is just say, you'll see the choices there. So if you want to say you're a New York State LLC and you want to file to be a New Jersey foreign, then that's what you would pick. You would just pick New Jersey Foreign LLC, and it'll take you through the process. You'll probably have to you'll have to get a certificate of good standing from your home state. You upload that. You'll have to have a registered agent in New Jersey, so you'll do that. You'll pay the filing fee, and then you will get your documentation that you're legally allowed to register to do business to do business in New Jersey. Was that the question? It wasn't to change, right? It was to just, if you're already in New York, but you want to register to do business in New Jersey.
Yep, that was the
Right?
question.
Okay. All right, thanks, Usman.
Next question from Sushil. They ask, is there a minimum tax for S Corp? I understand there is a $500 minimum tax for C Corp.
I don't know what kind of tax you're talking about. You're talking about their tax rate? You're talking about income tax? I can't answer that. I'm not sure I understand the question by what type of minimum tax you're talking about.
Got it. No problem. If Sushil, you can expand on your question, that would greatly help. If not, then you can always make an appointment. Next question from Sahid, who asks, how do you change sole proprietorship to LLC?
You basically just file an LLC. That's it. You form an LLC. It's starting business from scratch, and you get a new tax ID number. There's no, it's just basically, you file for the LLC, you register the new LLC, you get a brand new tax ID number. Now you're an LLC, and then that's it. You can't use your EIN from your sole prop in your new LLC, and you have to apply for a new name because you have to make sure that the name is available. It doesn't have to be a new name. As long as the new name is available on the state portal and it's unique, you can hopefully use the same name to keep the continuity. So I hope that answers the question.
Next question is from Rubayat, who asks, I am an IT consultant working on starting my own IT firm here in New Jersey as a single owner. If I register my IT firm as an LLC and I will have other products or brands developed over time, how do I register those brands under the parent LLC company? Thank you.
Well, you can always do an alternate business name. If you want to market certain products in your business separately from each other, and you want to keep it under the LLC umbrella, it's called filing an alternate business name. So it costs $50 for 5 years. And what you can do is you can call yourself something different that maybe more accurately reflects the other product, so you can market it. It's mostly for marketing purposes, because you have one financial company, you have one LLC, it's one tax filing, but different products, and you don't want to sell your jewelry if your name is, Vanessa's Tutors. So if you have a tutoring business and then you develop a jewelry business, maybe you want to do an alternate business name that has the word jewelry in it, and that can still be under the LLC umbrella. So it's called filing an alternate business name, and it's done right on the portal.
Got it. Next question is, what does New Jersey consider the official start date of a business? Is it the registration with the Division of Tax?
No, it's the day of the certificate of formation. It's the filing date. Actually, New Jersey gives 60 days after the filing of the certificate of formation to register the business. But the start date is, your start date is your date on your certificate of formation.
Got it. Next question is from Sonia, who asks, I tried to get the sales tax certification, but when I go to register it, the site sends me in a circle because the business is already set up as an LLC for a few years. How do I get the sales certificate?
Well, the way you can do that, you can make an appointment, and we can just there's kind of two ways you can do it. The way you would normally do that is you amend the registration. So it has nothing to do with the LLC formation. The LLC is a legal formed business structure. All the nuances of sales tax and that kind of thing related to New Jersey taxes is done on the registration end of it. So you can amend the registration by either filing a paper document called a Reg CL, where on the bottom it says you check a box saying I am now a collector of sales tax, and then you mail that in, and they're supposed to mail you back a sales certificate of authority. I have often found that it's easier to actually go back into the NJ Reg online and just re-register the whole thing online instead of just doing a paper amendment. Or there's actually another opportunity to amend the registration online, but you need a PIN. So as long, if you don't have a PIN, you can call them and they can make sure you have a PIN. So anyway, to answer your question, it's amending the registration. It has nothing to do with the LLC.
Got it. Let's move on to the next question. Christian asks, can I convert my LLC to a nonprofit veteran organization, specifically the 5093C status?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, I think the way that works is you take your LLC, you convert it to a corporation, and then you have to go through the whole process of filing, applying for the exemption. So, I mean, we'll look at it. Does it just make sense to start from scratch and close the LLC and start fresh with the corporation? We have to, the laws are funny with all that type of thing. Each state is different. Although New Jersey in the last year has now signed some legislation and has made all these types of things a lot easier with respect to changing business structure. It used to be somewhat complicated, and whether you're merging or consolidating, and some states have easier laws on the books to do this type of stuff. New Jersey's finally passed something, but basically it would just be a matter of incorporating and then filing for, there's a whole process to become nonprofit, and so that you could start that process.
Got it. Moving on to the next question, just a reminder, it is 1:20 p.m. So we run until 1:30. So we'll take a couple more questions, and all the other questions that we don't get to, you can always reach out to us at njsbc.com/startup. All right, so let's see. One question from Anonymous, is it possible to apply and receive a startup for my business without it reflecting on my credit because I am in the process of buying a home?
I mean, just intuitively, I don't think one has to do with, well, if you're just talking about the actual getting on the computer, forming in a sort, getting an LLC, opening up a business. I mean, is she she's talking about like running her business and actually, I'm not really 100% sure about the question. It's just the act of, paperwork online, forming an LLC, should have nothing to do with
Your
your
credit.
credit. Mm-mm.
Okay, so that there might be a misunderstanding there, that it does reflect on your credit or it does affect your credit. So the question could be then, does starting a startup, creating a startup or becoming an entrepreneur affect your credit?
Only if you, have to take on debt. Or yeah, I would have a follow-up question, counseling session on that. It's a little vague. It would be helpful to know about the bigger picture. I will say this is not your situation necessarily, but if it helps answer the question, is I did have a client once who wanted to get a small business loan for a startup, and was also was also in the market to buy a home that year. And that did create a conflict of interest for them. And it was something that had to be thought out. And it could be difficult for borrowing if you're looking for business source, funding, and then put yourself in some kind of, obviously your debt structure changes, and now you have business debt, and you want to now obtain a mortgage. Yes, that's all absolutely can impact each other. So, it just depends. You could start an LLC tomorrow and not just for the purposes of, doing something. It's not going to affect your credit if you're just operating without borrowing money or that sort of thing.
Got it. We'll take one or two more questions. Anonymous asks, does your office help a new business determine how to actually bid on opportunities in sam.gov? Vanessa, if you don't mind, I can help answer that question and jump in.
Please.
Feel free to jump in.
Yes. No, that's awesome.
Yeah, we do have consultants who can help you with that. So we have, for example, one of our consultants who often does our webinars, Jenny Rock Bailey. She helps with procurement opportunities, certification opportunities, and she can walk you through the steps properly. So feel free to reach out. This wouldn't be for formations and registrations. This would be more for those already in business, or use the link for those already in business. So www.njsbdc.com. Okay. Is there any assistance for businesses to acquire virtual offices?
Yeah. Only in that this is so popular now, people are really looking into these virtual offices. And I recently did some research with the client, and I've learned a bunch. The one thing I will say, so assistance meaning like, we'll tell you what, and not every counselor may know this because they may not have taken, that's not something. I had a client who had a bunch of questions on it, so I took some time. And the one thing I did learn about virtual businesses is that so in the formation, it asks you, what is the physical location of your LLC? Most times, if you're a home-based business, people would just put their home address. And now I understand many people may not want to do that. So you're looking at this virtual business. There is a difference between, you have to be careful, virtual mailing address and virtual business address. And it's still can be a little confusing, and you just got to confirm it with all parties, because some banks, when you go to open up your business bank account, this one bank had really given my client a hard time because she went ahead and opened what she thought was like a virtual address for her business, but it was really like more a virtual mailing address. And that doesn't really work. This particular bank wouldn't accept it, because very often a virtual mailing address could be, you plug in the address. They're like, oh, we have a street. It's a real street. This is what you could use. And then you plug it in, and it's Staples. And they offer the service. There's a Staples, and many of the Staples will have the back room, and they're doing virtual mailing, and they're the virtual address. But the bank wouldn't accept the Staples as the LLC physical location. So if you ever take the time and really look at these virtual companies, you have choices, and you want to make sure that you pick business, because once you're an LLC, it's probably not doesn't matter if you're a sole proprietor, but once you're an LLC, you want whatever is an approved virtual business address to be either some kind of a a corporate park, or there are centers that set themselves up to be that, and they're not even necessarily more money, but they are differentiated between what would be the standard run-of-the-mill mailing virtual addresses.
Thank you so much for that, Vanessa. And I think with this, we'll conclude our Q&A session. So that concludes basically our presentation with Vanessa, everybody. Let me just start sharing my screen quickly to show everybody our NJSBDC page. This is the website that we always talk about. This is it. And njsbdc.com. I think it's a great resource for everyone to check out. We have resources and data. So toolkit that can be used for any stage of your business, events, counseling. We have a podcast, we have a blog, we have blog page. So pretty cool things. I just want to quickly show these two pages. So NJ Thrive Small Business Webinars. When I mentioned that our recordings go on our YouTube channel and our website, this is what I mean. Many different webinar topics such as human resources. And yes, you should definitely put in your email and sign up. We had something for human resources. I mentioned Jenny Rock Bailey, a consultant who can help with this. So she can definitely help with procurement and sam.gov. We have Vanessa's webinars here. We have webinars with Ryan Silvestri, one of our capital team consultants, things like that. So pretty cool to check out. We have tons and tons, QuickBooks, marketing. So load more, check out. Next page that everyone should know is all statewide events. We offer counseling and in Spanish, and also webinars and events in Spanish. This page over here is in direct relevance to the map that I showed. So all the regional centers that I showed, the little SBC logos on the state of New Jersey, you can find all our events and webinars that are happening throughout the state for all regional centers here. So for example, the pre-celebration Q&A session, or the celebration happening on the 29th in the evening, that is available. Example here for Spanish event, there might be a fee for some, it might be free for others. So pretty cool, check it out. If you'd like to request Spanish speaking consultant, then just let us know and we'll arrange that for you. Next, what is happening? Upcoming webinar on Thursday, where we have Vanessa, Ryan, and Christian get together and have an open chat on what is happening. And just NJSBDC pre-celebration Q&A session, learn to start, fund, and market a business. And same time as always, 12 to 1:30 p.m. You can go to startfundmarket.eventbrite.com or just scan the QR code, or just go to the website that I just showed. All right, so this is it from me. We are here to support you, and NJSBDC has helped 15,000 plus small businesses grow in the 45 years that we have been in business. So talk with Vanessa and her team at njsbdc.com/startup. Scan the QR code. I will see you all on Thursday. If not, then there's always the next Tuesday after. All right, thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Stay safe and see you on Thursday. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.